Hey camera, happy 26th day of VALO vlog in October. I am mixing, and I thought I would show you guys kind of the basics of what I do when I get a session from somebody and they want me to mix a song of theirs. I'm not going to play it just because it's unreleased and it's not my place to play somebody's music that hasn't released it yet. That's up to them to do it. So I'll just show you kind of what I get and then what I do to it. Alright, let's take a look. I'm going to be filming the screen here, and obviously I'm only able to use one hand. A lot of audio programs and video editing programs, it requires two hands because there's keyboard shortcuts that you do with this hand or modifier keys that you hold down while you're doing things with the mouse. So it might take me a second to do things that would usually take me a millisecond. So this is a session that I got, and basically I like to organize it. I put all of my... Let me stretch this out first so you guys can see better. How do I do that with one hand? There we go. So let's stretch this out this way and stretch it out this way and then go back to the top. So basically what I do is I put all of my drums first, and I go kick, snare, any type of extra snares or claps, then cymbals, so hi-hats, crashes, then auxiliary like percussion or other drums, so this has some timpani, and then I put it all and I send it all to a bus, which is kind of like, if those of you who don't know audio, a bus is basically when I put the output of all of those drums to one stereo track so that I can then move just the volume up and down for that one stereo track, which I've called drum bus. Right here is drum bus. And then I can add, you know, different EQing or compression to that one track after I've EQ'd and done whatever to the individual track. So this has like two kicks, you know, 4 different snares, a clap, 2 crashes, and then a reverse crash and a timpani. So that's all the drums together. I send all of those. I first of all, I go through them all and I EQ them all individually, and if any of them need a little bit of compression or whatnot here or there, I do that, and then I send their output all through through a drum bus, like I said, so then I can just, if I just want to hear the drums, I can just hit solo on one and I can hear them all, or if I want to take the drums out completely, I can just hit mute on one rather than having to go and mute everything individually. After that I start with the instruments, which is bass is always first, then guitars, then synths or pianos, then brass, so horns. So this song has some bass, kind of a keyboard played, electric guitar part, a few synths, and then a horn section, and then strings. So each one of these kind of has their own setup, much like how it did in the drums. I send all of them to a instrument bus, which is down here. So I can do the same thing, mute all the instruments, so if I wanted I could just have the vocals and the drums playing. But then within that I also send the, where am I here? This has horns, and the horns, horns I usually like to send to their own bus, so I have the horn bus here, so the horns can just be controlled through one stereo channel, and the same with the strings. And it just allows me to say I have like a section, like a string, a bunch of cellos, and I want to EQ all the cellos individually, or I don't actually want to EQ them all individually because I feel like they could all just be EQ'd as a collective and compressed as a collective. Well, rather than putting the same EQ and compressor on each one of those tracks, I can just send them all to a bus and then affect that one bus by itself. So that's what I do with things like this. Now if the patches need to be, you know, individually EQ'd because they're so drastically mic'd differently, or in this case all of this is programmed, the person who did this production just programmed it all, so your strings are going to sound the same pretty much throughout all of them. So if you need kind of EQ on one, usually you're good with, you know, putting them through a bus and then EQing and compressing them that way. So that is what I do, and then obviously, like I said, the instruments have their own bus here that I can then just mute and solo. There's a lot of effects in this song. There's My effects obviously is also individual, and those get sent to an effects bus. Then I go into my vocals, and I have my lead vocals and the lead kind of ad-libs. So these are all just mono channels, and I send those to the Vox bus, which is Vox for vocal, that's a short form I use. Then after that, we get down to all the background vocals, and these are all these tracks here. If they arrive to me in stereo, some people record, well, most people record, if you're doing background vocals, you sing, say you have a low harmony, well, you'll sing it either at least twice. When I'm recording people, I like to have them sing it at least 4 times, and pan them all. Take the first take, pan it hard left. Second take, pan it hard right. Third take, sometimes do the same thing for every background, so you're getting a very thick sound from one part. Then you would do the same with a mid harmony and a higher harmony, or a unison, or pretty much any type of background vocals. You can obviously play around with not panning them all hard left and hard right. Sometimes only 60%, 60%. You play around with those, but the point is that they are all background vocals, so you want to then send them all to a bus. At least I do. So I can, same as everything else, EQ them and compress them all individually if need be to bring out their own characteristics, and then send them all to a background or a BG's bus that I've put here, BG's bus, and then I can strap kind of a group compressor, mix bus type of, well, not mix bus, because mix bus is at the end and I haven't gotten to that point of the tune and mixing yet. So basically everything is compartmentalized, so it's really easy to use. Like this has 56 tracks in it, which might seem like it's a lot to deal with. If I can bring it all in here so you can see it again. So everything is kind of looks, I mean, it's organized so it doesn't look crazy, but it's still a lot of stuff to deal with. I also go in, these tracks come to me fully printed all the way through, so all of the dead space that I don't need, I cut out. So only the colored areas are where audio is actually happening. The gray area, that's where I don't need that extra noise accumulating to cause just background hum or static or anything. So I cut that all out. So only when the audio is playing is what I keep. And yeah, that's pretty much it. From here, it's just going into EQing everything individually and adding any possible effects. You can create reverbs and delays and put those on an auxiliary channel, and then have these just send to those auxiliaries, so you can control just a little bit, like rather than putting a delay or a reverb on everything, that causes a lot of CPU power to be used. So you can just create an aux channel that is your reverb, and then you send, I only want to send 20% of the signal from the lead vocal to the reverb, rather than putting a reverb on the vocal and doing all that. It's just, mixing can get complicated, but it's really not complicated. When you see those huge mixing boards in movies or shows or in magazines or anywhere, the image that people have of a recording studio with that huge board that's like 20 feet long, and it's got all these knobs and buttons, really all you have to know is one strip. So everything goes, vertical. So if you have, say, 15 knobs in one strip, once you learn those 15 knobs and what they do, they're usually EQs, it's just copied over and over and over again. So really you don't look at a mixing board left to right, you look at it from top to bottom. And then you really just have to learn one strip, and then you know all of it. So it's the same thing with this. I mean, it looks like it could be complicated, but if you just take everything individually, then you don't have to worry about it too much. I guess I could play the drums for you, which I've kind of EQ'd, and I have going here. So nothing will be given away by playing the drums. Come on, computer. Any second now. Anyways, so it's kind of a very military-sounding drum thing. It's the producer kind of included the tracks having reverb on them, which I don't usually like because I like to add my own reverb, so I'm working with what I got. But I think I'm getting it pretty well. I'm going to hope to wrap this up tonight. So that's kind of an overview of mixing a song without really diving into telling you too much about how to mix a song. But that's kind of what it looks like, and that's what I do. So this is probably boring for most of you and probably went over a lot of your heads, but that's what I've been working on for the majority of today, just organizing it, getting it all cleaned up, and then finally diving in and mixing it. So I will see you guys tomorrow for the 27th of October. So, see ya. Deuces.